everyone, to All Saints Episcopal Church, and to Waiting for the Light. We are in the season of Advent, which is a season of anticipation, and I know you all have been anticipating this program. So once again, thank you so much to JoLynn Free, who organizes this. Thank you, JoLynn. And to our musicians and readers, thank you.
I wait for the Lord, my whole being waits, and in his word I put my hope. Psalm 130. At least, I want to get up early one more morning before sunrise, before the birds even. I want to throw cold water on my face and be at my work table when the sky lightens and smoke begins to rise from the chimneys of the other houses. I want to see the waves break on this rocky beach, not just hear them break as I did all last night in my sleep. I want to see again the ships that pass through the strait from every seafaring country in the world. Old, dirty freighters just barely moving along, and the swift new cargo vessels painted every color under the sun that cut the water as they pass. I want to keep an eye out for them, and for that little boat that plies the water between the ships and the pilot station near the lighthouse. I want to see them take a man off the ship and put another up on board. I want to spend the day watching this happen and reach my own conclusions. I hate to seem greedy. I have so much to be thankful for already. But I want to get up early, one more morning at least, and go to my place with some coffee and wait. Just wait. To see what's going to happen. Shark's teeth. Everything contains some silence. Noise gets its zest from the small shark's tooth-shaped fragments of rest angled in it. An hour of city holds maybe a minute of these remnants of time when silence reigned, compact and dangerous as a shark. Sometimes a bit of tail or fin can still be sensed in parks. Sorry, one more. Just don't have my cues today. My name. Once, when the lawn was a golden green and the marbled moonlit trees rose like fresh memorials in the scented air, and the whole countryside pulsed with chirr and murmur of insects, I lay in the grass, feeling the great distances open above me, and wondered what I would become and where I would find myself. And though I barely existed, I felt for an instant that the vast star-clustered sky was mine, and I heard my name in it as if for the first time, heard it the way one hears the wind and the rain, but faint and far off, as though it belonged not to me, but to the silence from which it would come and to which it would go.
Places we love. Places we love exist only through us. Space destroyed its only illusion in this constancy of time. Places we love can never leave. Places we love together. 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 And is this room really a room or an embrace? And what is beneath the window? A street or years? And the window is only the imprint left by the first rain we understood, returning endlessly. And this wall does not define the room, but perhaps the night your sun began to move in your sleeping blood. A sun like a butterfly of flame in your hall of mirrors. The night you were frightened by your own light. And this door leads into any afternoon which outlives it, forever peopled with your casual movements, as you stepped like fire into copper into my only memory. When you go, space closes over like water behind you. Do not look back. There is nothing outside you. Space is only time visible in a different way. Places we love can never leave. Stopping by the woods on a snowy evening. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it's queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only sound's the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark, and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. And miles to go before I sleep. What the silence says. I know you think you already know, but wait. longer than that. Even longer than that.
The Avatar. Listen, this is the Trinity, he said, tramping the wet road in the thin well-being of a winter morning. God the curlew, God the eider, God the cheese on toast. To his right, a huddle of small blue mountains squatted together, discussing the recent storm. To his left, the sea washed. I thought it was whimsical, what he said. I condemned it as fey. Then I saw that he meant it, that, unlike me, he had no quarrel with himself. He could see his own glory was young enough for faith still in the flesh and in being. He was not attracted by awe or a high, cold cleanness, but imagined a God as intimate as the trickles of blood and juice that coursed about inside him, a God he could eat or warm his hands on, a low God for winter, belly-weighted with the unmistakable call of the bog curlew and the seagoing eider. Primary wonder. Days pass when I forget the mystery, problems insoluble, and problems offering their own ignored solution jostle for my attention. They crowd its antechamber along with a host of diversions, my courtiers, wearing their colored clothes, caps and bells. And then, once more, the quiet mystery is present to me. The throng's clamor recedes. The mystery that there is anything at all, let alone cosmos, joy, memory, everything rather than void, and that, O Lord, Creator, Hallowed One, you still, hour by hour, sustain it. Sustain, 7 excerpt. I don't know this woman with the clean kitchen, the watched garden, curly-leafed kale, and immortal chard growing around her house. I don't know how she keeps it going, sustains this note we've put our weight on, or how the trees keep on standing there with all the trouble they've seen, breathing in poison, giving out oxygen. I want to be like them, though I am only a flesh apple of hope and doubt. I want your hand in mine as the old world ends and something else is born every moment, singing love's praises just a little while longer.
there is in you what is beyond you. She told me the earth loves us. She said it softly, without a need for conviction or romance. After everything? I asked, ashamed. That's not the kind of love she meant. She walked through a field of gray, beetle-bored pine, snags branching like polished bone. I forget sometimes how the trees look at me with the generosity of water. I forget all the other breath I'm breathing in. Today I learned that trees can't sleep with our lights on, that they knit a forest in their language, their feelings. This is not a metaphor. Like seeing a face across a crowd, we are all learning all the old things, newly shined and numbered. I am always looking for a place to lie down and cry. Green, mossed, shaded, or rock quiet, empty. Somewhere to hush and start over. I put on my antlers in the sun. I walk through the dark gates of the trees. Grief waters my footsteps, leaving a trail that glitters. Earth dweller. It was all the clods at once become precious. It was the barn and the shed and the windmill, my hands, the crack Arlie made in the axe handle. Oh, let me stay here humbly, forgotten, to rejoice in it all. Then let the sun casually rise and set. If I have not found the right place, teach me. For somewhere inside, the clods are vaulted mansions. Lines through the barn sing for the saints forever. The shed and the windmill rears so gloriously, the sun shudders like a gong. Now I know why people worship, carry around magic emblems, wake up talking dreams that they teach to their children. The world speaks. The world speaks everything to us. It is our only friend. For Jessica, my daughter. Tonight I walked close to the house and was afraid, not of the winding course that I have made of love and self, but of the dark and far away. I walked, hearing the wind and feeling the cold, but what I dwelled on were the stars blazing in the immense sky. Jessica, it is so much easier to think of our lives as we move under the brief luster of leaves, loving what we have, than to think of how it is. Such small beings as we travel in the dark with no visible way or end in sight. Yet there are times when I remember under the same sky when the body's bones became light and the wound of the skull opened to receive the cold rays of the cosmos, and were for an instant themselves the cosmos. There were times when I could believe we were the children of stars, and our words were made of the same dust that flames in space. Times when I could feel in the lightness of breath the weight of a whole day come to rest. But tonight, it is different. Afraid of the dark in which we drift or vanish apart, I imagine a light that would not let us stray too far apart. A secret moon or mirror. A sheet of paper. Something you could carry in the dark when I am away.
Supple cord. My brother, in his small white bed, held one end. I tugged the other to signal I was still awake. We could have spoken, could have sung to one another. We were in the same room for 5 years. But the soft cord with its little frayed ends connected us in the dark, gave comfort, even if we had been bickering all day. When he fell asleep first, and his end of the cord dropped to the floor, I missed him terribly, even though I could hear his breath, and we had such long, separate lives ahead. For the sleepwalkers. Tonight, I want to say something wonderful for the sleepwalkers who have so much faith in their legs, so much faith in the invisible arrow carved into the carpet, the worn path that leads to the stairs instead of the window, the gaping doorway instead of the seamless mirror. I love the way that sleepwalkers are willing to step out of their bodies into the night, to raise their arms and welcome darkness, palming the blank spaces, touching everything. Always they return home safely, like blind men who know it is morning by feeling shadows. And always they wake up as themselves again. That's why I want to say something astonishing, like, our hearts are leaving our bodies. Our hearts are thirsty black handkerchiefs flying through the trees at night, soaking up the darkest beams of moonlight, the music of owls, the motion of wind-torn branches. And now our hearts are thick black fists flying back to the glove of our chests. We have to learn to trust our hearts like that. We have to learn the desperate faith of sleepwalkers who rise out of their calm beds and walk through the skin of another life. We have to drink the stupefying cup of darkness and wake up to ourselves, nourished and surprised. I'm in love with every church and mosque and temple and any kind of shrine because I know it is there that people say the different names of the one God. Thanks. Listen, With the night falling, we are saying thank you. We are stopping on the bridges to bow from the railings. We are running out of the glass rooms with our mouths full of food to look at the sky and say thank you. We are standing by the water and thanking it, standing by the windows looking out in our directions, back from a series of hospitals, back from a mugging. After funerals, we are saying thank you. After news of the dead, whether or not we knew them, we are saying thank you. Over telephones, we are saying thank you. In doorways, and in the backs of cars, and in elevators, remembering wars, and the police at the door, and the beatings on the stairs. We are saying thank you. In the banks, we are saying thank you. In the face of the officials and the rich, and of all who will never change, we go on saying thank you. Thank you. With the animals dying around us, our lost feelings, we are saying thank you. With the forests falling faster than the minutes of our lives, we are saying thank you. With the words going out like cells of a brain, with the cities growing over us, we are saying thank you. Faster and faster, with nobody listening, we are saying thank you. We are saying thank you and waving, dark though it is. Ode to everything. Somehow I never thought to thank the ice cream cone for building a paradise in my mouth. And can you believe I have never thought to thank the purple trout lily for demonstrating its 6-petaled dive, or the yellow circle in a traffic light for illustrating patience? My bad. In my life, I have failed to praise the postman whose loyalty is epic, the laundress who treasures my skinny jeans and other garments, and the auto repairman who clangs a wrench inside my car, tightening her own music. Were my name called and I were summoned on a brightly lit stage to accept a little statuette, after staring in utter disbelief, I would thank my dentist, and as well as my neighbor who sits a vigil beside the dying, far away from the lights, and my 4th grade teacher who brought down those taped rulers on my hands as punishment for daydreaming out a window during an exam I had already completed. Mea culpa. Now that I know the value of the peaks across from Flanders Hill, I will also perennially express reverence for their green crowns. I will never fail again to say small devotions for the scar on a friend's face that lengthens when I walk into a room.
Those winter Sundays. Sundays, too, my father got up early and put on his clothes in the blue-black cold. Then, with cracked hands that ached from labor in the weekday weather, made banked fires blaze. No one ever thanked him. I'd wake and hear the cold splintering, breaking. When the rooms were warm, he'd call, and slowly I would rise and dress, fearing the chronic angers of that house. Speaking indifferently to him, who had driven out the cold and polished my good shoes as well. What did I know? What did I know of love's austere and lonely offices? Father's voice. No need to get home early. The car can see in the dark. He wanted me to be rich the only way we could, easy with what we had. And always that was his gift, given for me ever since. Easy gift. a wind that keeps on blowing for flowers or birds wherever I look. World, I am your slow guest, one of the common things that move in the sun and have close, reliable friends in the earth, in the air, in the rock. Suppose the ghetto stars pinned to cloth could fly from history like angels soaring to the sky. The air, which holds cinders of Buddhist robes, burned hair of ones who doused themselves, set fire. Suppose the plume of smoke becomes clear and white. What did I say? I said, what if Sarajevo is not burning, and no city is burning, and in the market square no head is impaled on a stick, or mute limbs strewn on streets, and no fingers exist without hands? Suppose grenades side with sunlight, bullets in boxes become chocolate wrapped in gold foil. And in Guatemala, the men come back from their disappearance and in the morning wake in their own beds because love is the white moon and light moves in us like blood. Yes, there will be holes left in the clothes, but not from ripped stars, only from where to let the darkness out.
Overture. So I stepped off the streetcar and walked to the bus stop, marveling at the city around me and at the young woman I could never be, standing as if beautiful, with her tattooed neck and metal stubs through her nose and ears. And actually, she was beautiful, singing a familiar tune, its notes of grace filling the space between the two of us. And suddenly, too, a limping man with his cardboard "Will work for food" sign, like the title of a poem and not his life. But who was he then? Because he began to hum, and the woman, teeth not yellow like his, smiling at him, reached into her pocket of her denim jacket while she sang and fluttered a $5 bill toward him like some butterfly, which reminded me of my mother, who sang on the bed of her death, as if song could keep her alive, or maybe it was I who imagined this, a prayer not for the dead, but from the dying. My mother in her purple gown, singing as if death were not the name of anything, but part of an overture, her brown eyes earnest like those of the woman at the bus stop in my new city, where I did not yet know who I would become. But now it seems I was at least a singer at a bus stop, for my own voice joined in without my permission, and the three of us hovered in the mellifluous air on the darkening sidewalk as the bus came to us and lifted us up together and away. If you knew. What if you knew you'd be the last to touch someone? If you were taking tickets, for example, at the theater, tearing them, giving back the ragged stubs, you might take care to touch that palm. Brush your fingers along life's line crease. When a man pulls his wheeled suitcase too slowly through the airport, when the car in front of me doesn't signal, when the clerk at the pharmacy won't say, "Thank you," I don't remember they are going to die. A friend told me she'd been with her aunt, they'd just had lunch, and a waiter, a young gay man with plum black eyes, joked as he served coffee, kissed her aunt's powdered cheek when they left. Then they walked half a block, and her aunt dropped dead on the sidewalk. How close does the dragon's spume have to come? How wide does the crack in heaven have to split? What would people look like if we could see them as they are? Soaked in honey, stung and swollen, reckless, pinned against time.
judging ourselves. We are better today because of what has come before us. We should thank ourselves that in some measure we have paid attention. But now we have traveled as far into the centuries as human beings have ever gone. We are today, at this moment, at the far edge of time. Is this where we want to be? Are we who our grandparents imagined we would be? Is this the house we wanted to build? Today and now we are the builders. This is our house, but it leaks. We know it is only partially built, but we have the tools and history's blueprint. In whatever way we pound the hammer or gavel, we must build a life having imagined it well, able to move forward from having listened to one another, knowing we are at our best together. One CEO, one goat herd, one copper miner is not enough. We must speak reasonably to one another, and in turn, we must listen for the best of what listening brings. We must change where history has taught us change is needed, and be glad to do it. We have the power to be rain in the desert for one another, living in a house whose roof is in good repair. Population. Isn't it nice that everyone has a grocery list? We all have a grocery list on the refrigerator door. At any given time, there are 30 million lists in America that say bread. Isn't it nice not to be alone in this? Sometimes you visit someone's house for the first time and you spot the list taped up on a kitchen cabinet and you think, yes, we're all in this together. Toilet paper. No getting around it. Nice to think of us all unwrapping the new rolls at once. 40,000 of us at any given moment.
Oranges. The first time I walked with a girl, I was 12. Cold and weighted down with 2 oranges in my jacket. December. Frost cracking beneath my steps, my breath before me, then gone. As I walked toward her home, the one whose porch light burned yellow night and day in any weather, a dog barked at me. A dog barked at me until she came out, pulling at her gloves, face bright with rouge. I smiled, touched her shoulder, and led her across the street, across a used car lot and a line of newly planted trees, until we were breathing before a drugstore. We entered, the tiny bell bringing a saleslady down a narrow aisle of goods. I turned to the candies, tiered like bleachers, and asked what she wanted. Light in her eyes, a smile starting at the corners of her mouth. I fingered a nickel in my pocket, and when she lifted a chocolate that cost a dime, I didn't say anything. I took the nickel from my pocket, then an orange, and set them quietly on the counter. The lady's eyes met mine and held them, knowing very well what it was about. Outside, a few cars hissing past, fog hanging like old coats between trees. I took my girl's hand in mine for 2 blocks, then released it to let her unwrap the chocolate. I peeled my orange that was so bright against the gray of December that, from some distance, someone might have thought I was making a fire in my hands. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John chapter 1. The bat. I was reading about rationalism, the kind of thing we do up north in early winter when the sun leaves work for the day at 4:15. Maybe the world is intelligible to the rational minds, and maybe we light the lamps at dusk for nothing. Then I heard the wings overhead. The cats and I chased the bat in circles. Living room, kitchen, pantry, kitchen, living room. At every turn, it evaded us like the identity of the third person in the Trinity. The one who spoke through the prophets. The one who astounded Mary by suddenly coming near.
She replies to Carmel's letter. It was a mild Christmas. The small rain kept washing over, so I coated myself in plastics, walked further than I could manage. Leave me now, I'd say, and when they had tramped ahead, I'd sit myself down on the stone or the side of a high grass ditch or anywhere. Like a duck in a puddle, I'd rest a bit. Then I would muddle around the winding boreens that crawled the headland. Sometimes, waterproofed and not caring, I'd sit in a road that was really a stream bed, being and seeing from down where the hare sees, sitting in mud and in wetness, the world rising hummocky around me, the sudden grass on the skyline, the fence post with the earth run from under it, swinging like a hanged man. Then I would want to praise the ease of low and wet things, the song of them like a child's low drone. And praising, I'd watch how the water flowing the track is clear, so I might not see it, but for the cross-hatched place where it runs on a scatter of grit, the flat swelled place where it slides itself over a stone. So now, when you write that you're labor to strip off the layers, and there might not under them be anything at all. I remember that time, and I wish you had sat there with me, your skin fever hot, the lovely wet coldness of winter mud on your red, uncovered hands, knowing it's all in the layers, flesh on the bones, the patterns that the bones push upwards into the flesh. So you will see how it is with me, and that sometimes even sickness is generous and takes you by the hand and sits you beside things you would otherwise have passed over. Carols back then. Clouds on the hills. I hear a throat voice, chiming like Ella's, from that quickened year soon to be gone if I do not recall the cold and the carols that rang Christmas there. Walls are closing around that corner scene, the streets turning to iron where we sang like a bell, and even our classmates are shrugging away. I stand on the curb and remember it all. That song, the star that came near and stayed, the hulking town we walked through that night, I can turn to it, being true to the sign, quietly insisting with all of my life. That life, those around me now can't know. Ella, our town is filling with snow.
Proclamation at a birth for Anna. Let every tree burst into blossom, whatever the season. Let the snow melt mild as milk and the new rain wash the gutters clean of last year's prophecies. Let the guns sweep out their chambers and the criminals doze, dreaming themselves back to infancy. Let the sailors throw their crisp white caps as high as they can, which like so many doves will return to the ark with lilacs. Let the frogs turn into princes, the princes into frogs. Let the madrigals, let the musical croakings begin. Christmas Sparrow. The first thing I heard this morning was a soft, insistent rustle, the rapid flapping of wings against glass, as it turned out. A small bird writhing in the frame of a high window, trying to hurl itself through the enigma of transparency into the spacious light. A noise in the throat of the cat hunkered on the rug told me how the bird had gotten inside, carried in the cold night through the flap in a basement door, and later released from the soft clench of teeth. Up on a chair, I trapped its pulsations in a small towel and carried it to the door. So weightless it seemed to have vanished into the nest of cloth. But outside it burst from my uncapped hands into its element, dipping over the dormant garden in a spasm of wing beats and disappearing over a tall row of hemlocks. Still, for the rest of the day, I could feel its wild thrumming against my palms whenever I thought about the hours the bird must have spent pent in the shadows of that room, hidden in the spiky branches of our decorated tree, breathing there among the metallic angels, ceramic apples, stars of yarn. Its eyes open, like mine, as I lie here tonight, picturing this rare, lucky sparrow tucked into a holly bush now, a light snow tumbling through the windless dark. Daybreak. On the tidal mud, just before sunset, dozens of starfishes were creeping. It was as though the mud were a sky, and enormous, imperfect stars moved across it as slowly as the actual stars across heaven. All at once they stopped. And as if they had simply increased their receptivity to gravity, they sank down into the mud, faded down into it, and lay still. And by the time pink of sunset broke across them, they were as invisible as the true stars at daybreak.
A Babe with Sugar Maple. When the hard edges of the book that sang me to sleep woke me, I assumed thoughts of all I hadn't accomplished, weren't far behind the people I'd disappointed, the money I hadn't made, the power structures I'd rarely opposed. But instead, I found myself greeted by an almost criminal hope, somehow free of the social order that had shaped my mind, so that by the time the sun peeked in and the huge sugar maple that filled my window spoke, the only thing I questioned was the 40-hour work week and why the French and Italians get 8 weeks vacation, because it's been, what, a million years? And yet somehow that maple knew me. We talked and talked until I became birched and oaked, crab-appled and cherried, drunk with all the treeness I had forgotten. My God, to think I could bud, even blossom. Celebration. Brilliant. This day, a young virtuoso of a day. Morning shadows cut by sharpest scissors, deft hands, and every prodigy of green, whether it's ferns or lichen or needles or impatient points of bud on spindly bushes, greener than ever before. And the way the conifers hold new cones to the light for blessing, a festive rite, and sing the oceanic chant the wind transcribes for them. A day that shines in the cold like a first prize brass band swinging along the street of a cold, dusty village, wholly at odds with the claims of reasonable gloom.